Recording?
I'm recording.
Good.
I'm recording on 2 cameras. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks. Bye, Daniel.
Bye.
Hold on, well, there's still a ton more people. Wow. Hi. Okay. What are we doing today? I think I've done like 5 different things. I've put on 5 different hats. So now we're weaving a peony crown. And I'm gonna look slightly awkward. Like my eyes are gonna go this way and this way because again, there's 2 cameras. There's my phone and an official video camera recording at the same time. So we're doing this, guys. Anyways, this is what we're making. One of these. Ta-da! Holds up your peonies or whatever plants need support that are, more than 2 feet but less than 5 feet high. Yeah, and it's super easy. It's dead easy. By the time I'm done, you're going to be like, oh my god, why did I even need to watch a video in that? But hopefully you're here for the entertainment value as well. So, anyways, here we go. I'm going to put this to the side. And for the sake, again, of not being super boring, I have like pre-cut all of my sticks. And we're going to start with the hoops first. And we're going to put we're going to arrange them all before we weave them. And I'm working with, actually, this is 1-year growth willow. I also use 2-year growth willow that's thinner. So either way, you basically want it to be, I don't know, maybe somewhere just under like maybe not a ½ inch. Oh, actually, we can always just measure them, can't we? At the butt end, it's about, a little under a ½ inch, somewhere between like 1/3 and a ½ inch wide, which I guess that's like 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Does that sound about right? On the butt end. And these longest ones for the biggest hoops, there's 4 of them, and I've cut them 55 inches long. These are going to be like really hilarious measurements because I didn't like pre-plan them. I sort of made one and went, oh, this looks right, and then I measured what they were. So it's just however long the hoops were on one that looked right when I made it. So that's how that's going to be. And there's 4 of them here. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to alternate my tips and my butts so that, there's a tip and a butt over here on this end and a tip and a butt obviously on this end here. And then I'm going to do like a little bit of twisting. Let's see. I added extra holes to my jig so it's gotten slightly more confusing. And this jig is the same jig that I made the obelisk on. And I'm using the same holes, which is very convenient for me. Which means that there are 24 holes on a 16-inch diameter circle. And it works out all right. I kind of put in these holes with the idea that I was going to do the obelisks, and I sort of had to make the peony crowns to fit. And, at the end of the day, both the peony crowns and the obelisks have a lot of wiggle room. So, hey, everybody! So, you can just kind of make it however you think they should work. So you can see what I've done here. I've made one big hoop across with my 2 that have gotten twisted together, and they're just, exactly opposite of each other. And then these other 2 that have been twisted around each other are going, sort of the other direction. They're going across, straight across like that. So they should just make a nice little cross there, like that. Sometimes you need to do a little bit of flattening to get the shape right, but on the whole, whatever hoop you end up with. So those are good. Easy peasy. And then now the next ones are going to be, there's a set of 8. Can everyone hear me okay? Hi! Hopefully everyone can hear me. You might also hear cows. I think our neighbor has cleared out the barn and he's either taking the cows out of the barn or he's putting the cows back in the barn, one or the other. And they're either excited or not excited, but you might hear them mooing. But anyways, so the next set of sticks are 47 inches long. Again, totally random amount, but they are all the same. And there's 8 of them, like I said, and they're about the same thickness. They're also really quite thick. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take 2 at a time, and I'm going to alternate them so there's one tip and one butt on each side, and I'm going to twist them around each other. And then I'm going to put them kind of, let's see, I don't know quite how to explain this, but they're going in this hole. So, you know, if these were placed, you know, on this hole right here, right at the end, 2 holes away from that is where one side of the hoop is going. And then obviously the other side of the hoop is going to go on the other side of that, also on 2 holes away, like that. Ooh. There we go. All right, that one's good. And then that one's got kind of a funny, that's actually insect damage right there, and that did kind of a funny thing, but I think it'll be all right. It may or may not annoy me enough to change it. We'll find out. And then there's 8 of them because you're going to do that for every single, you know, side of this thing. So basically this one here goes 2 holes away from where this one was placed. Zoop. Hello. Ooh, there we go. Make sure it actually fits in the holes there. Okay. Then another one goes here. How's everybody doing out there? Everyone doing okay? I pretty much ask that every time, I suppose. But I do hope everyone's doing okay each time. Zoop. And they're kind of, I don't know, just because I know too, especially this willow that I'm working with actually does like to kink. It's a little bit softer. I think this is, oh God, it's a Polish named variety that I call Jagiellonka. That's totally not how it's pronounced, but it is spelled Jagiellonka. So however you want to pronounce that, that's how it's pronounced. But it is a little bit softer, and so when I'm putting in these hoops, I'm kind of pulling apart from one side as I stick in the other side. I'm kind of sticking it in and twisting. You can do that too if you want to. You don't have to twist it beforehand all the time. So as I'm going to, you know, put this in the other hole, I kind of give it a little bit of a pre-bend, and I'm kind of feeling where the different tensions are. And I'm going to actually pull away, like right here, while I'm sticking it in, just to kind of keep it from kinking a little bit. Like that. So yeah, so now those are all in, easy peasy. And now the next ones are another set of 8, and same variety, I think, and they are cut 38.5 inches long. 38.5 inches long. I only know this now because I've made 20 of them. I still have another 5 to go before this one order. So I have these numbers memorized at this point. You'll end up with an even pair of steaks. Yes, I will. I will end up with an even pair. There's 24 altogether. Hopefully that's what you were thinking about, Dion. This is a kind of a funny one. So these ones, so here's where it starts to get a little tricky, because you're gonna be like, oh, this totally makes sense, but it does a little different thing here, because actually what we're gonna do is this next set of hoops, you know, I've taken the pair and I've twisted them. So this next set they're not going in new holes. They're actually going in the same holes, believe it or not, that the first 2 hoops went into. So this is actually going to go in here, and then the other place is going to go is actually in here. So it's going to look like that. Let's see if I can turn this. It's going to look like that. See that? So my holes may or may not be big enough. I think I normally actually make a little angle cut in these so they fit. And I you know, if I were smart, and I like never get to it, but if I were smart, I would just make my holes on those sides bigger so I could fit all these sticks in. But I never remember, so I'm about to employ some tape in a little bit. But the first couple you can actually get in without, for me at least, I can get them in without tape. So these ones kind of just pop in a little bit there, and then again they pop in a little bit right there. So that's cool. And then the next ones. So I kind of just do a little angle cut both on the butt and the tip. Easy peasy. Not hard. Zoop. Zoop. Okay. So this one I put in there, and then the other one that I get to fit is right diagonally of it. So just kitty corner essentially. And so same deal, it's going to go in this back one here. And then I'm going to twist them around. And then they're going to fit in that hole. Right there. Like that. Not bad. Alright, so the next couple of hoops I need to use some tape. Oh my god, and I'm running out of tape. Remember when I threatened that I might run out of tape? I have some more somewhere, but just not here. But I think I can get through. So I just get a couple of pieces so I don't have to get them later. And then these guys get taped just right here on this one. Again, if your holes are big enough, or if you're doing this in the ground, which you like definitely can just put this in the ground and do this if you wanted to. So that one gets taped over there. Twist, twist, twist. Zoop, zoop. And then this one gets taped right here. Like that. All together. Oh no. What happened here? I effed up my tape. Will you fit all the way around? Let's find out. Zoop. Ooh, that might come apart. Extra piece of tape. Hey everybody. Okay. There we go. A little extra tape can't hurt anybody. Okay. And the last one. Doop. Doop. Yeah, it was... Continue on with the theme of these things. Let me talk about the weather today. It was nice outside, except that it was very, very windy and like colder than it has been. And I think it's taken me, I don't know, the better part of a decade to realize that it's cold here compared to where we used to live, where we used to live was just across the river. And even north of here in Kingston. So, you know, like maybe about 40 minutes drive from here. And we're somehow like two zones. I think in Kingston we were probably a zone 6. And here, I swear to you, we are a zone 4. Which basically means that we will probably have a frost this weekend. We might get snow. And apparently there's chances of frost up until late May here. Which is just crazy to me. I don't understand it. But as a farmer, too, it throws me for a loop every year. Because I think, oh, I'm going to get the tomatoes in, you know, early May. That's not going to happen. I don't know what I was thinking. So I have to pot them up. Okay, so... this is most of the hoops. We're just going to do one final set, but I just kind of want to show you what the pattern looks like so far. So remember the first 2 went just across from each other at the top here. Then another 4 kind of did across where those hoops were. And then these last 4 went across those hoops as a pair on all 4 sides. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. This one. Yeah? Makes sense? Okay. And I do have this on a pad, and I do have a weight on it. And so now we're up to the last 4, which I don't know why. I just decided to not have pairs anymore in the last 4 hoops. I don't know. Aesthetic, design, whatever it is. So I actually just use single pieces, and these are actually almost like thicker than the first 4 pieces that I used. They're from a different variety of willow. This is from first year blue. That's branchy actually. And for some reason, blue here, when it grows, it's a purpurea. And for some reason, it grows giant here. I don't know what it is. It's entering its 5th year here. And even last year, I got like 8 and 9 footers, and some were like, 6 footers that were branchy. So I had these like honking pieces of willow from what is supposed to be like a fine basketry willow. I don't know what it is, but I use them for this, so it's fine. So anyways, these also do I have my clippers? Yes, I do. These also do kind of a funny thing. They have a funny pattern to them, wherein they do a little bit of like over-under. I wouldn't so much say that they get woven, but they kind of just, I put a little tension on them to kind of keep everybody in place. So what that means is where they go is, it'll eventually go kind of here and here. Wait, no, here and here. But they go under one of those first hoops that we put down and over the rest of them. So it looks like this. Zoop. So again, there's a little bit of tension in there now, holding everybody in. Sweet. And then they will overlap with each other a little bit. So the next one is going to do the same thing. It's going to go underneath this one and over everybody else. And it's actually going to go into the same hole where I put the other one, that last hoop. So it goes into that same hole on that side. And obviously there's no one on this side yet, but there will be in a little bit. So like that. And then this one. Ooh, can you all see what's happening here? How long? Oh yeah, that's the important part, right? These are a little bit more reasonable. They're 35 inches long. So 4 of them at 35 inches long is what it is. Yeah. And then the last one gets placed. And this one's a little bit trickier because now there's a hoop in both holes here, so this one gets a little bit funky. Hold on. There we go. Not bad. You have to make that sound when you do it. Ta-da! Now we're done. No, I'm just kidding. We're not at all done. But we have the basic framework in place here. So this is essentially what it's going to look like, and now we just have to weave to like set it like that. And you'll notice that on this jig, there's holes left over. I got it. Hold on 1 second. So, in the leftover holes, so to fill out the rest of our 24 holes, there's 8 holes left. I've made these little thick stick things, and they're fairly straight, again, but they don't have to be completely straight. They just don't want to be like super, super curvy. And they are about 1 foot long. And these are all actually from second year growth, just because I need them to be a little bit sturdier. Because what they're going to do actually is they're my anchor stakes. So the rest of this, after we weave it, there's only like, I don't know, a couple of inches. You know, this thing is only a couple inches thick. So when you sit it in the ground, it, like especially if you put it in early season, there's nothing holding it in the ground. So it's just very likely to just like blow away like tumbleweed down the field. I know this for a fact. So I've cut these things, and they kind of just sit here for the moment and get woven around. But when you go to install your peony crown, you actually end up pushing these sticks through the weaving into the ground, and then they sink in, you know, like 10 inches or so. And with 8 of them in there, your peony crown isn't going anywhere. So that's what those are there for. And they fill up the little holes that are left. So that is useful. So I'm going to stick all those in. And they have, they're, like I said, they're about 1 foot long, and they also have a nice little angle cut on them. So like, they're like that. Man, if I don't get this thing done in under an hour, hire somebody else, man. Okay, so the next part is the actual weaving. And these guys are 187, Purpura 187, and they are just under 5 feet long. So like I said, I use like the longer 4.5 footers or short 5 footers for these guys. Yeah, and it doesn't really matter as long as they're like pretty hefty, because this is actually what is holding this whole thing in at the end of the day. And I guess I'm going to start facing this way, because otherwise you can't see what I'm doing. But again, with this, you could do a 3-rod whale, which I have done before. But, you know, I like it so much, I'm going to do that Irish mouth whale again. So same thing if you've watched the obelisk video. Wow, I sound so profesh. If you've watched the obelisk video, you know, it's that same sort of weave that I use at the bottom of the obelisk. So I'll show it again. So it is, you know, we're going to start with butts, and it's going to go in front, behind, you know, in this case behind one of those little anchoring stakes, in front, and then behind, like that. And, you know, these guys are going to move around a little bit. I don't really worry about it that much. It all kind of, like, works out at the end of the day. So, in front, behind, behind. And then this one is going to do this funny little thing where it sneaks in, I don't know if you can see, but it sneaks in underneath this last little piece here, and then goes above and goes in front. So it kind of does like a little twisty thing here. And then it goes above again on this side. And I kind of, because of all these hoops in my way, I sort of had to do a little bit of finagling at first. But ultimately it's that same pattern. So this new one I put in will also be in front, behind, but it's done a little twisty twist around the first one that I put in. So the next one, and we're moving, it's kind of like, we're going in the opposite of a French rand. So for me, I'm inserting mine, you know, I'm weaving to the left and inserting to the left, but obviously if you're weaving to the right, you're inserting to the right, if you're right-handed. So for the next one, it's going to be sort of the same thing, but now I'm going under everybody. So there's this little cross here, right at the final point where you have one in front and one behind. And there's a little cross, and you actually go underneath the cross, and then up above again, like that. Yeah? And then this one up above again, and goes behind this little stake here, like that. And you're, like I said, you're going to have to do a little bit of finagling for this first round, but it will all come together, I promise. So this next one, same thing, underneath that cross there, and then in front of that guy, and then lift up and go behind this next little pile of sticks here, like that. And this is it. You just keep going around the whole time. So, underneath the cross, goes up and in front of that other stake, and then above everybody behind the next stake. All the way around. So it's 24 holes, which means I have 24, you know, sticks, you know, quote unquote stakes. And I've got 24 weavers to do this. So we're going to keep going. So what I might do is I might put one more in, and I'm actually kneeling on the ground here, which is not the most comfortable. So I'm going to go sit in my chair and turn this around and keep going. So give me 1 second here. But you get the gist, right? You got this. So I'll give you a little close-up here of what this looks like. So that's what it looks like. That's that pattern. So they kind of do this little funky twisting around each other thing, and that's what holds everybody in place. There we go. So, excuse me while I turn around here. I hope my neighbor cleaning out his barn means that he's gonna let the cows out for pasture. Because that's always like a really nice time of year, you know. Our neighbor has about, I don't know, like 125 acres, I want to say. So you know what's funny is that because of the new video camera, the tripod is slightly farther away, so the view might look the same, but it's because I've zoomed in. So excuse me one second while I read. Yeah, you got this. Okay. So I might have to get like little glasses or something. Little like magnifying glasses to read what's on my tiny iPhone. No, I don't have an iPhone. What am I saying? On my tiny little like Android screen. Zoop. Yeah, so for those of you who might be watching later, the recording of this, if you see me pitch forward and squint, it's because I'm trying to read. Ugh. This part, so in the way that making, that square base and the like, how I learned it from Jenny Crisp / maybe French style, in the way that is like ultimately super relaxing and lovely, this is like kind of not that relaxing to me, because there's all these little holes. Maybe it's just because I've done so many of them, like in quick succession, but I am a little over it, guys. I'm like a little over making this thing. Which is funny, because if you had asked me like a year ago what I wanted, or even like 2 months ago what I wanted, I would have said, I want to make one thing, and one thing only, and just make like hundreds of them. I don't know if that's true. I think I do like making different things. Ugh. All right. So yeah, I guess after I make this one, I'll have 21, which means I only have to make 4 more for now. And, super, not super sad news, but slightly sad news is that I looked at my stash of Willow. Ooh, that was a funny noise. I think we're okay. I looked at my stash of Willow, and I don't have extra. I think I can get through these last few peony crowns, and I think that's pretty much it. So for those of you who have asked, I will be sending you individual messages, but I honestly think this is it for me and peony crowns this year. I won't, I could make them, but it would be with smaller, thinner willow, because really what I'm running out of is materials for these hoopy bits, and I don't want to make them thinner or smaller, so we'll just have to wait till next year, I think. And I think I'll keep this in mind. Half of it too is that I was supposed to get more willow, and I haven't yet, just because things have been a little nuts, obviously. So, I'll try and have more willow for next year. We'll see what happens. Because I didn't realize this was going to be a thing. But it's apparently a thing. Okay. So, all the way around. And yeah, there definitely will be some parts to this where you will have to do a little dance with the willow that you're weaving, basically such that like you don't want it to kink on you, so you kind of have to like slip it through with the tip and let it go behind. Because normally, you'd take you'd make a D and make it go behind. Woo-hoo. But there are just some places where you can't do that here because there's just such a tight opening. Which is kind of a bummer about this particular design that I have made. I want to say in other peony crowns you don't run into that issue as much. So for me, that's probably something that I should think about to improve on. So we'll see. All right. Okay. I've got 3 more left. I'm going to turn this back around this way so you can see how to insert those last few. So hopefully we can see again here. Okay, so the third to last one kind of does the same thing. It's not too tricky. You go underneath that cross, and then I just want to make sure everybody can actually see on what's happening here. So same thing, go underneath the cross, go back up, go in front of that guy, and then behind, but you want this piece that's coming out to end up on the bottom. So you actually have to do a little swap-a-roo, and you're able to do that here. You can just sort of swap it when you get there so that it goes underneath. And then the next one, you know, you kind of should have an idea of where that goes so that this little butt ends up in the next stake over. And then this one kind of does a little dance where it's got to go underneath this butt, but on top of, you know, this tip or whatever, this rest of the piece of willow that's coming out here as it goes in front of this guy. So it doesn't go over everybody, it just goes over that one piece and underneath the butt from a previous weaver. And then it's actually got to go underneath everybody on the next space. So you have to do like a big loop-de-loop here and thread it through as you're going underneath. And you want to make sure that you're going behind this guy here, so that that same pattern of in front and behind stays the same. And then you just pull it pretty much as tight as you can once you get it through. So it looks like that. And it keeps the pattern, is essentially what you're aiming for. And so the last one, same thing. You're not going to have a cross, but you should know that you have to put it underneath here so that when it goes above, the butt will come out here, and that's the last stake that a butt will have to be in front of. So that's how you know that you've done it right, is now you have a butt in front of every stake here. Or, you know, sticks, as it were. And then same thing, when it goes around, it's got to go below this butt, but above this weaver. And then behind the next one, but underneath everybody, so you make a big loop-de-loop. Come on. There we go. And sometimes I even kind of lift that up a little bit just to make sure that it's easier to pull through. And I'm trying to keep it from kinking as much as possible. But because it's 187, of course, it wants to kink, but that's okay. All right. So that one's pulled through, and now you're set. So what this does is it sets you up for a French rand. So now that you've gotten the Irish mouth whale set up, you know, done, so that's done, you now have a stick, you know, a weaver coming out of every space. And it's as if you had already inserted for a French rand, so you just continue it on. And so what that means is, you know, wherever, you can start wherever, because it's all even. I kind of have done it both ways. I think the way that we were taught was to go, you know, where it's coming out in front of a stake, you go directly behind the next stake. I have also done it where you go in front of two and behind one, kind of like sometimes you would normally do on a French rand anyways. So now that we're French randing, it's the other way around, where for me, I'm weaving to the left, but I'm taking the next weaver to the right when I weave, like that. And you can do, you know, you can do a speed rand here, so that's what I'm going to do. Like that. And again, you have to do a little bit of finagling, so this one's going to go, I kind of am going to do this little funny thing where I kind of weave it so it goes behind, then I come back out again. But it works out. Yeah, so I'm going to do one more here. Oh wait, this doesn't need to do that. Zoop. Yeah, take advantage of it where you can just kind of slip your weaver behind like that. So like that. Okay. And then this can go one more. So I'm going to sit in my chair again. But you got it, right? French randing. And here, I'll show you again too what this looks like. So do you kind of see how it goes straight in? Yeah? And just now right up into a French rand. And this French rand goes really quickly because I'm only going to end up doing like either 6 or 7 layers. You know, even though they're big, long weavers, you know, my spaces are big enough that they actually don't make many layers, if that makes sense. which is why I kind of ended up needing bigger ones. Am I going to do that? Yeah, that's all right. I'll figure that one out. I went one over too many. One too many over. That's okay though. At the end of the day, it won't really matter. And I kind of do this thing, I guess, kind of a little finesse thing where as I'm taking this French rending over, I'm kind of pushing down on those butts because they do have a tendency to like come up on you when you're doing that Irish mouth veil. Their angle is a little up. I'm going to totally wrap this down after I'm done with this first set of speed rending. But it can't hurt to just kind of give it a little extra and push down on that very first set there. Yep. Did I finish saying about my neighbor and about the cows? Right. He's got 120 acres, and he's just like a very sweet guy. And he loves his animals so much. He raises heifers. And it's just always like this fantastic thing when he lets them out for the springtime. Usually they're in the barn for the winter because otherwise they would just destroy their pasture. And because he's on a hillside and such. So anyways, around now he lets them out and they literally come dancing out the barn. I mean, if cows could tap dance, they would 100% like tap dance out of the barn and up the field. But they do, they like run out and they like kick their heels up. Oh, I love it so much. It's such a lovely moment to see. And then for the rest of the summer, they're just like out there like dancing in the field. It's great. Ugh. All right. I mean, it's like, when you think about happy cows, those are happy cows. Zoop. All right. Ugh. But the funny thing about cleaning out the barn part of it for the winter time is that they've been in there all winter, and so it's like a winter's worth of barn pack, which is not pleasant when it's being emptied. So before the like happy dancing cows, there's like a very serious barn smell that happens for a couple of days, which I don't mind. It's not the worst. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Ugh. Zoop. 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 Do. Ooh, 187. You are so serious. Ugh. It actually is really good for this, to use for these peony crowns because they don't annoy me too much, and it's kind of over fast. Whereas I feel like whatever these 5-footers I would be using for like a normal basket, I think I would be cursing for a lot longer. So it's nice to only curse at them for 15, 20 minutes or something. All right. Oops, where am I going? Huh, what did this one do? Oh, did I weave the wrong one? Of course I did. Hold on. I wove the wrong one. There we go. This one first. Zoop. Zoop. Uh-oh, I wove the wrong one here too. Oh my goodness, what is happening? What is happening, guys? But it's kind of classic French Ranch rookie mistake where I took the wrong one to weave with at the very end here. But right, when you're French rending, you're taking the one at the bottom to weave with. Right. So yeah, I'm just catching up with myself. Zoop. So since I was speed rending, these last ones just get taken over so that they catch up with the other ones, so they don't necessarily go, I think I was doing 4 layers at a time, so they don't necessarily go 4 over. They just go, 3, 2, 1, depending. All right, so these are all level again, and I'm going to wrap down. And so loud noises. And I kind of push where my hoops are kind of in the way. I kind of push them over so that I can get a good wrap in. You know what I'm saying? You could also use a bodkin, but I can't be bothered. All right. Good. So another set. And with this, I'm going to do probably one more speed rending that's 3 layers, I would say. Maybe just 2 since that other one went over 4. Let's see how far I can get here. Yeah, I'm going to do 3. Not too bad. And now, your weavers should be small enough that you don't have to do as much finagling. You should be able to just pull everybody through. Yeah. 3 layers it is. So after this, you could very well just use this as it is. I'm going to do one last thing to tie things together, which is I'm going to use basically like a God's eye on some of the intersections, some of the cross pieces on the hoops there. Just one for decoration because it looks pretty, and I find that it does again add a little bit more stability to the thing. I do find though that those are the first things to go. So when this thing is kind of decomposing back into the earth, those little God's eye pieces will be the first things to go, which is fine. Again, you can just sort of leave them without them, but you can also just add those God's eyes back too after the fact, after they've kind of gotten a little crumbly. And of course, like with the obelisks, these will last a lot longer if you coat them with like a linseed oil or this other stuff called Vermont. I think the company is called Vermont Natural Coatings, and it's a whey-based weatherproofer thing, which is kind of neat because it's completely non-toxic, or according to them at least, it's completely non-toxic, and it's whey-based, so it's kind of using things that would be left over from the dairy industry, which depending on how you feel about it is either a good or bad thing, but I think it's a good thing for now since we still have a dairy industry at the very least. So we might as well use some of the byproducts and cheese making and all that. So and I like it. It doesn't smell as much as linseed oil. I don't feel as icky afterwards. It's a water cleanup, so I like it a lot. Oh, I see a question. Hold on. What is a God's eye? So it's a God's eye, and I'm going to show you. And it's actually the kind of weaving that I never did this because I never went to summer camp, but if you went to summer camp, you might have done a God's eye. It's the kind of thing that, they kind of get little kids to do. But it's a nice little decorative binding weave, I guess, would be the best way to classify it. I won't make the same mistake here. Okay. And yeah, it's really a nice way to tie, things that cross at right angles, if that makes any sense. You'll actually sometimes see them on frame or rib baskets right where the 2 hoops come together. Instead of joining them just with regular weaving, sometimes people join them with a really big God's eye, and that can look really pretty. So that's where you'll see it sometimes. But I will show it. I should have enough time. I'm almost done here, so it'll be the last thing I do, basically, is do one of those. So yeah, I'm just finishing up here, again, catching up with myself. Zoop. And and I didn't make the same mistake, which is good. And to be honest, I kind of leave, you're kind of catching up to where I taped those pieces, and I kind of leave that tape there until it's dry, just so that, you know, the hoops will be a little bit more dried in place, because otherwise they're putting tension on the weaving and they don't need to for right now. So I'm just going to show you really quick how I finish these off. So I would do, it's kind of like doing one layer of French randing, except that instead of doing it correctly, where you're going, you know, I'm weaving to the left, I am taking the next one to the right, I'm going to weave to the left, but I'm going to take the next one to the left as well. And what ends up happening is they kind of sit on top of each other. So the next one you would take is still going to in the quote-unquote wrong direction, but I take just the one that's underneath, which is the one that hasn't woven yet, and then I put it above everybody else. And it just does this little kind of tying off thing that I like. You know, it's not necessary, but because this is a French rand, it kind of like would otherwise have a tendency to just unravel, and this kind of keeps everybody in place. So you just go ahead and do that for everybody around. And it's going to be the same thing as you come around. There's going to be a point where you have to like do a little roller coaster and slide underneath, but that's just right at the end there. So just always make sure that you're taking the correct one, but it should basically be the one that's underneath. Or you can kind of just check, you know, to see if it's the one that's underneath. But you can see it kind of like locks everybody in place there. It's as if you had like tucked all of your tips, is kind of what it is. But this kind of does it for you, so you don't actually have to tuck anything. Out there. Okay, so I'm back to where I started, and so this one, instead of just lying on top, this one's going to do a little roller coaster and go underneath one layer, one stick, like that. And then this very last one that I'm going to weave, which is this one, it's going to go above and behind this one, but then it's going to go underneath too, like that. And that just finishes everybody off. Okay, sweet. So now for the God's Eye part. Let me get this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing here. And I'll put it on this thing. So is this going to work? And yeah, I think it'll work. Okay, so I've got, well, more than 5 just in case one breaks on me. But I've got, hopefully, what will end up being about 5 pieces of fairly thin willow that is, I don't know, 4 feet, just about 3.5 to 4 feet. And hopefully you can kind of see, maybe I can even go like a little bit closer here. Hold on. Maybe I'm just going to do this. Zoom. Okay, so there's going to be 5 places where I put these God's eyes, and it's essentially going to be the 5 top intersections. So it's going to be where those first 2 hoops crossed each other, and then where the next 4 hoops crossed the first 2 hoops. Hopefully that made sense. And essentially, you kind of have to do this thing. How can I best illustrate what's happening here? Maybe this way? No, this way is going to have to be it. So you kind of have to do this thing where you go across, and then it's kind of like, actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to do one, and I'm going to try to explain it, and I'm going to find the book where it explains it, and I'll show you the page in the book. It's from a Jonathan Ridgen book. He's got one on there. So anyways, it goes diagonally across, and you're going to end up in where, like a little, I don't know, triangle, right angle triangle, and it's going to go behind that, and it's going to cross underneath one of the sticks. And then you're going to go diagonally across that to the next stick opposite of what you're thinking. So if you were going to go diagonally across the cross, you're going to end up in another space, and then you're going to wrap it underneath that next stick that's right there. So not the stick opposite, but the one that's next to it. And then you kind of do that all the way around. So you're always going kind of diagonally across to another space, and then behind the stick that's right there, so that you're kind of binding everybody as you go along. And I'll kind of show you what it looks like on the overhead when I'm done. But essentially, it makes this really nice pattern that kind of looks like a big square, I guess. And to tie it off, you kind of just, instead of weaving above, you weave underneath, and it kind of sets right in there. Bodkin. And then I just use a little bodkin to add in a little extra tie off so that it really holds in place. But I'll show you what it looks like from above, and I'll show you, I'll just need to dig for a second that book out of the way. So like, can you see? Like that. That's what it looks like. And let me see if I can show the other camera for a second. So it looks like that. And give me 1 second here, hold on. So, the question is, oh, here it is. So I do like this book, you know. It's not my favorite because I don't necessarily like the designs that are in here. But it is a really good book for beginners. It's obviously reversed, but in the one that I'm going to upload, it should be correct. But this is the one. It's Jonathan Ridgen, Willow Basketry, a how-to guide. And here is the God's Eye. So even though it's reversed, it should make sense. But this is essentially what it looks like. Like that. I will totally post this afterwards. I'm definitely like 100% recording this. So this will end up on Instagram after the fact, and then you can see the whole video. But do you see what's happening here? How that works? And then the last bit, you just like bind it off by going, you know, instead of like crossing overhand, like this is showing you crossing it overhand, like this, you just go underneath instead. That's all. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to do the rest of them. And then maybe you'll actually see the one on this one a little bit better here. When I do this one, how about that? How about them apples? So same thing, I'm going to go across. And then underneath that guy like that. And then underneath that guy. And then underneath that guy. And underneath that guy. See? And it just keeps going around and around. And this little butt end, it sticks out for now, but I just trim it and then it doesn't stick out anymore. Oopsie. So that's just a final little extra tie off piece there. But yeah, I can even show you if I can trim this one super close and I leave a little bit of a tail on that one. It just disappears. So, a few more. Zoop. Zoop. Uh-oh, this one is a little thick, but hopefully it'll be all right. It's sort of why you need a thin one, because otherwise it'll, see, like that, it'll just crack, because you really are asking it to do a lot. And probably I could have conditioned these, but again, I don't got time for that, so. Sorry, I just do it. Oh my god, this one's thick too. Do I have enough? I think I do. I'm gonna use this one. That's why I do extras. And these are all offcuts from wherever. And so they're like just super mixed, like, I don't even label them. It's just whatever it ends up being. It's probably all Purpurea 187 because that's what I've been working with mostly. But it's probably also just whatever other things that have been sitting in the freezer for however long. Okay. Zoop. 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 Alright, so tie off goes underneath instead of over, and then underneath that other little guy too. Sometimes I use a bodkin because that would be useful. Of course, where did I put my bodkin? Oh, that's what it fell. I know I'm getting older because I make that sound sometimes ironically, but sometimes I make that sound not at all ironically. I make that sound because I have to. Okay. Next one. Sometimes if these hoops aren't quite where I want them to be, I sometimes just push them down and kind of angle them so that they do what I want them to do. Sometimes that happens. Oh wait, look at that. That way. Because this really does hold them pretty tight, actually. It does a good job of binding. Zoop. Oopsie. Okay. Tuck. What am I weaving? I am weaving a peony crown. So basically like a plant support. And you know, that gets set on top of the peony plant, and then the plant grows up through it. Yeah, willow garden crown. That's what it's called. But yeah, it's especially useful for peonies just because those peony flowers tend to be... I did it again. Well, it's okay. I'll just go this direction. No one will notice. Peony flowers tend to be so heavy. Oh my goodness. Hopefully this will do its thing. There we go. Yeah, not too bad. So this provides some support so the flowers don't fall down. I'm weaving this one in the other direction because my diagonal was a different direction to begin with. But that's okay. Okay, so I'm getting nervous because I've got plenty of time, but I feel like I'm running out of time. Okay, and now I'm going to need the bodkin for this last little bit. But this is basically it. Just a little bit of trimming and then pull it out of the jig and you're done. Yeah, super easy peasy. Then you can make them for all your peonies. I'm trying to think if, for those of you who might not have access to a lot of willow, you are probably going to need willow for the weaving part, but you don't necessarily need willow for the hoop part, I would say. Yeah, that's pretty much, you do need something. You do need something to tie those together, but, you don't have to do a fancy, like, Irish mouse wheel or anything like that. If you don't happen to have willow, you could still try one of these with other things to make the hoops and just tie them together with, like, whatever you got. You can try and, I don't know, take a strip of something and, like, screw them to it. You can just try and use, twine or something like that. Yeah, can't hurt to try it. All right. How long did they last in the garden? Oh yeah, 1 season at least. I find that if I coat them in something, like if I do the linseed oil thing or the Vermont Natural Coatings Way thing, I find that you can get like another, season or two out of them. These poor peony crowns, they get, they're not quite as thick as the obelisks, these hoopy bits. I don't know, for me personally, I don't have the hand strength to make the hoops out of the like same thickness of willow. So I find that they last a little bit less. They probably at most would last like 3 seasons if you coat them every year, would be my guess. And you do want to take them in at the end of the year as well. So, okay. So the last thing is to take it out. These again are like not quite as sturdy as the obelisk, so I can't just like pull them out. I kind of like wedge my I wedge my bodkin underneath and kind of do a little bit of levering out of here. And eventually it just pops right out. So there it is. Not bad. Not bad. So, Whew, that part was like a little bit of a workout. Anyways, I think that's it. Oh my god, bye!